This is Gadgets Top 321. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing my three skinny pens. I've got the Lamy CP1, the Lamy logo, and the Faber-Castell Ambition. These three pens have a lot in common, including that all three are very popular pens. Now, we're going to go over the similarities, some of the differences, and talk about what makes these pens so special. Now, all three of these pens have spring-loaded clips. They are snap caps, they are cartridge converter, and they post in theory, and we'll talk about that a little bit later also. So let's start with the CP1. This is a metal pen. The body's metal. The clip is solid aluminum. Like I said, it's on a spring-loaded rocker. I think this pen is brass, and I'll show you in just a minute. It's a small cap, but considering how small it is, it's still got a little bit of weight to it. Now the grip section is plastic. It comes with a converter and a cartridge. The reason I think it's brass is I can see some brass threads in there. Now the body's not very heavy, so I don't know if it's all brass or if it's just the threads in there. Not sure. You can tell it's really thin metal. This little section back here, it's hard to see because this pen is so stealthy. This little section back here is plastic though. Okay. I've got a medium nib. The great thing about these Lamy pens is they have interchangeable nibs, and that's good because I'm not super fond of medium nibs, so I got a extra fine to slide on there, and I'll do that later and we'll be able to compare them. Let me make sure I'm not drying the nib out. Like I said, this pen posts and snaps on the back securely, but not very deeply. And this is a lightweight pen, but compared to the rest of the pen, the cap's kind of heavy, so it does back weight it a little. The pen is, like I said, not heavy. It's just the weight distribution's off a little bit, so it does back weight it a little bit. If you prefer to use it unposted, it's a decent sized pen. It's really lightweight now and, you know, well balanced because it just weighs nothing basically. And let me do the writing sample with this one. All of the nibs I'm going to be using today are just fantastic. This medium nib. Oh, and I'm using Lamy Dark Lilac. I prefer to have my pen posted. I'm going to go ahead and post it. Smooth. Decently wet. Just a pleasant pen to write with. Comfortable in the hand. Only downside is back weighted when posted. That's my only issue with this pen. Okay, next we're going to move to the Lamy logo, which is very similar. It's got a spring-loaded clip, but the design is different. It's got a hinge up here on top. That's kind of cool. It's also a metal pen. This one appears to be aluminum. I'm not sure. Either aluminum or maybe stainless steel. There is a stainless steel version of this, of the logo. The one I have has a pearl, I guess, lacquer finish. There's a little bit of texture to it. The grip section's a little bit longer, which is kind of neat. When you cap it, you still see a little bit of that pattern. It adds a little bit of visual interest to the pen. Snap cap. This one I prefer not to post because this section back here is plastic, just like on the CP1, but it's got a chrome coating on it. And I've read in reviews that if you post it, see, this one doesn't snap to post, it just fits on there by friction. And these thin metal walls will just scratch that chrome finish up. So I don't post this one. Technically you can, but it could possibly damage your finish. I've got a fine nib on this one. Let me make sure I'm sitting here with the caps open. And the medium had kind of a hard start. That doesn't happen under normal use. This one did not come with a converter, so I've got my Lamy Dark Lilac. Now, the Lamy cartridges don't have a little bead or an agitator in there, so sometimes you gotta flick the ink down. And these cartridges and the converter hold a decent amount of ink. This also is a lightweight pen. The pen itself might be a little bit heavier than the CP1, but if you were to post this one, like there is a model that has just, this is raw black plastic back here, and if I had it to do over, I probably would get that one. Because when you post this one, it's still just well balanced. It's not back weighted, and this would be a good one to post. Would maybe be a little bit long, but, or it would be long like the CP1, but at least it wouldn't be back weighted. And let me do my little writing sample with the fine nib. And you can feel, I don't know how visible it is, but you can tell that this is putting down a finer line. If you compare that M to the F, you can tell that's broader. And I have to say, I do prefer fine nibs. You can tell it's putting down a little bit less ink because it doesn't need a lot of ink. It's putting down a finer line. This, the logo, I'm a big fan of this pen. Like I said, my only regret on this one is I got the wrong finish. I wish I would have got the stainless steel that has the black plastic back here so that I could post it. Alright, and so we've done a medium and a fine. I'm going to switch out the medium nib for this extra fine. And these nibs just slide off. I'm going to wipe off some of the ink so it doesn't dry on it. Just set it right there. Slide this one on. Maybe. There we go. Gently press it onto the feed. Get a little ink going here. There we go. I really like this extra fine. And as you go down a nib size, you can feel that you're writing with a smaller nib. It doesn't feel scratchy. It just feels like it's a smaller tip. This one's the extra fine. Yeah, still putting down a decent amount of ink, and just putting down a slightly finer line. And finally, this Faber-Castell Ambition is also a snap cap. Cap's on there pretty tight. You've got more of a traditional shape nib. It's a pretty nib. Doesn't have a breather hole, but it's got just this pretty polka dot pattern on it. It's an extra fine. You notice the section is kind of odd on this one, and that's kind of polarizing with this pen. I don't think that's intended to be the place where you grip it. I think when this pen was designed, it's designed to be held up here, but I do find myself, my thumb tends to go down here. So my fingers are up on the plastic part, and my thumb kind of creeps down here to the metal part, and I haven't had any trouble getting ink on my hand, even though my thumb's down here close to the nib. Sitting here with the cap off. I don't want to dry it out. Well, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and show. This one posts just like the others, snaps on the back. This one's way back heavy, but I just like the way it looks. This two-tone look, it's kind of pretty, so I just put up with it. Alright, this one is also cartridge converter. Uses Standard and International. And the nib on this one is quite a bit finer. This extra fine is quite a bit finer than the Lamy extra fine. And I really like it. For a nib this fine, it's very smooth. If you're used to broader nibs, you may not call this smooth, but there's only so much smoothness you can have with a nib this small. And it puts down a decent amount of ink. All of these write very nicely. And I didn't mention it's got a spring-loaded clip. Man, this one's really tight though. But I love the way this pen looks. I love the pattern on it. The color's not showing up real well. This is like a coral color. I love to put Konpeki, that bright turquoisey blue coming out of the coral pen. Man, that's just really pretty. It's got nice engraving on the cap. This is metal back here, so I don't have any issues posting this one. I like the way these pens look. They write fantastic. These pens are they're a size that people are familiar with. It's not a whole lot larger in diameter than like a number 2 pencil, so it's a familiar size. They're similar in size to the fountain pens that my parents gave me. So these older vintage fountain pens, they're similar in size to these what are called skinny pens now. And when you compare them to like a TWSBI Mini, look how chunky that is compared to these pens. This is a mini, but look how chunky it is. Or if you compare it to a Platinum 3776, which is not a big pen, it's, looks big compared to one of these. Or a Sailor Pro Gear Slim. This has Slim in the name, and look how much bigger in diameter this one is than these pens. So, if you have smaller hands, or if this look just appeals to you, I think these are cool looking pens. And they write great. And they fit well in lots of pen loops. And they're just nice pens. I'm a big fan. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.